That's, I said already, I'm doing explanation of the 2 questions given feedback. So this was what was on your exam. The two questions on the exam question. I'm skipping all the other steps and going to the step of when we see the question on the exam paper, what's the first thing we are going to do? This is after the brainstorming stage and we have done our selection of items. What is it that's suitable? No. We do the brainstorming first, then we open the question, this is what we see. Then we go back to restructure our title based on what it is we're going to use to answer the question. But when we get to the stage of looking at the question, the first thing we are going to do is to read carefully, and we are going to break this question down to understand it clearly. What is the question asking us to give us a response? So the question here is for question 1, the national government of Papua New Guinea should grant autonomy to provinces in the country. And do you agree or disagree with the statement? I hope that you were able to predict your question correctly and your collection of information was related to this particular question. Were you able to predict this question correctly? I'd like to hear that.
No.
No? So you were saying that you didn't predict the question correctly? Did you predict the question correctly or not?
Yes, sort of.
Yes.
Yes.
Even if you didn't really give the exact prediction, it was around that question that you were able to collect information. Am I right in that?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
You were deciding autonomy for provinces. And if autonomy was given, what would be the good, what would be the bad of giving autonomy to provinces? All right? So even if you did predict the exact question, information you collected would have been able to help you to answer this question. All right? So once you have seen this question, you are going to create a new outline. Now this new outline is based on the exact question. An outline here, I mean, you are going to create a, what's another word for the word outline? What is another word
Plan.
for outline?
Plan.
We are making a plan. So when we make an outline, we are giving a picture of the whole essay. What is it that we are going to, or what is it going to come out as a whole product? So we begin our planning by showing what we will have in our introduction. Then we will have our body, how many paragraphs we are going to make, and that will be determined by what are the main ideas that we are going to have for each main idea paragraph in the body. So we have a main idea 1, a main idea 2, and a main idea 3. Or you may decide to have a main idea 3, depending on how much information you have collected for yourself. So I have done here, according to my plan, 1, 2, 3, and 4 main ideas. Then I still have my conclusion paragraph. So that stage of planning the outline is very important because this must take place first. So one of those things that you will avoid is repeating the same idea in another paragraph, right? So when you have a whole picture showing you what this whole essay is going to be, you have an idea what you will have for main idea in paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and 4 of your main idea, the body section of your writing. Now, introduction, you can use different approaches, and because a lot of people define autonomy as part of the introduction, you can do that, but you don't have to make the whole paragraph be just introduction. You can also integrate other things like statistics. You can also use historical information. So when we looked at introduction types, we looked at all these different approaches separately, but that does not restrict you from putting all these approaches together to create the whole paragraph. All right. When you do that, you create a variety. You create interest, and it is pleasing to see, or there is a good impression taken out from what you produce. So outlining, don't forget, it's a very important stage. Through your practice writing, you've already found out for yourself that you cannot be able to do a draft and then go to write the whole essay. You need to skip that. You will only do outlining and go directly to your the writing of the actual answer. So this is the question, the outline. We break the question, we analyze what it is, and then we do the outline. All right, I'm going to question number 2. Question number 2 is story writing. And in this story, you were asked to write an imaginary story. Write an imaginary story of how you and your friend, you can name your friend, made an unplanned journey into a strange cave in the mountains. Narrate and describe all the events you encountered, and you did not know the hidden dangers and magical powers of the strange cave. Disaster struck, what happened, and the story can have a sad or a happy ending. And we talked about common ways of starting the story. A lot of students would begin by talking about me and my friend Peter took a walk to the mountains. All right? So you are given a chronological order. What do we mean by chronological order?
Sequence.
Chronological order is? What do we mean by this?
Sequence of events. I mean, in
Depends in what is
order of how they happen.
good. That is what chronological order is. It means the order of how the events happen. So we don't break any structure here. We just go and how we begin our trip and so on. So this is chronological order. We are telling the story in the order in which everything happened. All right, but you can break that rule by doing something else. So your story is not like everybody else. Break it so that your story looks interesting because you have used another approach to begin the story. So unlike the argument writing, we are talking about getting away from the normal things that people do. We do ours differently. So here in the argument, we are talking about statistics, rebuttal, historical information, all these different ways that you can use. You are selecting one of them to use, or you can use a mixture of them. In the same way, in the story writing, you can also use another approach. You don't have to use the one that everybody else is going to use. So yours looks interesting to read. So here you can use, for example, an action. You can use flashback. What is flashback? You can use dialogue. Flashback is bringing what has happened in the past. So you can bring what has happened to begin the story. So in other words, you are beginning the story in the end of the whole thing, the whole plot. All right? So I hope that you have written an interesting story using another approach to do that and not using the same way that other people have begun the story. So use another approach such as an action. You can also use characterization, which I didn't use here. Characterization. You can also create mood by describing the atmosphere. So create mood or create atmosphere. You can use these different approaches to begin the story instead of the normal chronological order. So the point here for on the feedback of the answer here, the answer to the questions is to use another approach to begin your story. Also, I'd like you to make sure that you do outlining for both questions. Don't forget this. Question 1, outline, then write. Question 2, you do your outlining and write. All right? So I've come to the end of the presentation for this feedback on the question. If you have any questions, you can